Hi, I'm Rabbi Tal Siegel from Gaon Education. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to take you through a Gemara curriculum that we've developed called Gaon Gemara, which is a skill-based Gemara curriculum. It teaches students how to learn Gemara, and we're going to take you through a couple of examples and give you an insight into how the curriculum works. This curriculum was made based on the experience and methodology that's been developed by Shapell's College of Jewish Studies, otherwise known as Yeshiva Darche Noam, a yeshiva in Jerusalem, mainly for Bali Tshuva, that's been teaching Gemara skills to beginners for 30 years. We've been working primarily with Rabbi Eli Silverberg, Maggid Shir of the introductory level Gemara Shir there, and Rabbi Shaya Karlinsky, the founder and Rosh Yeshiva of Shapell's, to take their methodology, their proven success and experience, and put that in a format that works for middle schools in America. In general, you find that there are two different types of subjects in the world. You have skill-based subjects such as mathematics and content-based subjects such as history. And if you'll forgive me, I'm going to make a couple of generalizations here. You teach these two subjects in very different ways. There are four main areas of difference that we've identified. One is the subject matter, obviously teaching skills versus content. Another is in lesson structure, and another is in engagement, the way that we inspire or engage students. A fourth is vertical alignment, the way that we have a seamless progression of skills or content from grade to grade. And lastly, an assessment and review. We're going to go through in this video the first three of these. We're not going to get to the last two, and we're going to show how they apply to Gemara study. First, let's look at subject matter. In Gemara, you have actually both. You have a lot of content, such as the sugyas, the people, the topic, the halacha, the morality behind it. There is a lot of content that we can focus on. And there are also a lot of skills, how to break down a Gemara, how to analyze it, how to make sense of it, how to bring out the depth of Gemara in an argument, in a machloket. And a lot of Gemara Rebbeim think that they can do both. They want to balance and do both content and skills. But very often, when content is focused on, it's kind of a black hole that the skills become further and further fallen by the wayside. And we land up in a situation where the skills are really being neglected. In this curriculum, we follow the approach taken by the Iglei Tal, who writes in Rav Avraham Barenstein. He writes in the introduction that nowadays, and he was talking in his time, where information is freely available and you have the printing press, right? How much more so nowadays with the internet. And information is widely available. The Ikar mitzvah of teaching Torah is teaching people how to learn, how to think, how to analyze. And that's what this curriculum seeks to do. Always in the context of content. Of course, we're learning Torah here, so it's always within a sugya, within a mishnah, working through a parak. But we're using the content to teach the skills, especially at this period where they're just learning Gemara for the first time. Nowadays, we find often a challenge that schools have is that Chavruta time is not taken seriously. The students are divided into pairs. They would have to be very self-motivated to learn during that time, and the Rebbe can't be everywhere at the same time. So there's no way of ensuring that they take that time seriously and actually do exercises or actually learn. And so we find that the Chavruta time gets shorter and shorter, and the Shir time gets longer and longer, and we land up with this situation, which is different to every yeshiva in the world, where we have 25% of a lesson where the students are actually breaking their teeth and learning these skills, and a lot of frontal teaching. And that's because when we focus on content, it lends itself to frontal teaching. It's about inspiring with the content, so we're going to get through the content, and if Chavruta time is not taken seriously, then that frontal teaching is going to fill that void. With a skill-based approach, it lends itself more to project-based learning or inquiry-based learning. We're challenging the students with problem solving, with questions, with analysis, and we give them the exercises to support that, such that Chavruta time gets back to 75% of the lesson, because they're engaged during that period. We also use technology to make sure that that's happening, and that allows the teacher, to the Rebbe, to ascertain, to make sure, to keep track of what the students are learning, and walk around as a facilitator, as a sholam meshiv, to build on people's learning or to remediate students who are struggling with a certain skill, application of a skill. And we get shiur time back down to 25% of the learning time, like it is in any classic yeshiva, where in that time the Rebbe can either cover the information that has already been done by individuals in Chavrut time, or he can build upon that with new content of his own. This is the model, this is what we're trying to get to with a skill-based approach. And we do that by engaging people with problem solving as opposed to engaging with interesting content. It's interesting the way that applies itself to long-term spiritual growth, because if you're trying to engage using interesting content, then as soon as you move to a topic that's not so interesting or seemingly interesting, so then the interest to learn is gone. So as long as we're talking about stem cell research, we're in good shape. But as soon as we move to the korbanot of Rosh Chodesh, student engagement, students' interest, it disappears. Whereas with a problem-solving approach, if we give students the ability to analyze a sugya, analyze a machlaket, and be involved in the creative process of developing an understanding of that, then any source, any mishnah, any halacha can become something that's very, very engaging. So we build this engagement, one, as I've mentioned, through posing questions, problems, and scenarios, rather than we never present facts, we never present established facts. It's always, here's the text, you bring out the meaning from this, what do you think about this? And that process is often assisted and facilitated by the Rebbe, and a lot of scaffolding. So the scaffolding allows us to engage students with processes that are very advanced for where they are, and as they master a certain skill, we start removing that scaffolding until they can do it on their own. And we're going to look at a couple of examples of that now. This is one example of information versus attack questions. This is where we're teaching the students how to identify different questions in the Gemara, and they're also reviewing a previously learned skill of identifying a makshan and a tartzon who's asking a question and who's giving an answer in a sugya, and building basic vocabulary terms such as kasha and teretz, or she'ela and kasha. So in this example, we use a classic conversation, very relatable, of an argument between a mother and a son who has missed curfew. And we have the students in a previous lesson go through and identify in this argument who is the makshan and who is the tartzon. And in this next lesson, they're building on that and identifying which questions were a kasha, an attack question, and which questions are a she'ela, or an information question. After they've done that in a practical setting, we then take them to a real sugya. This is in the first sugya in Bava Metzia, which is the parak that we're working through in section 2 of the curriculum. And we give them the breakdown already of a sugya with scaffolding. You see the scaffolding of the different color and the breakdown of the sugya. And they have to go through and identify, who is the speaker in each statement, what is a kasha, what's a teretz. We develop that skill. They then go through and they drag in or draw a face of whether the Gemara is happy or unhappy at each stage, which is a skill that's also previously been introduced. They revise that, and that's one example. There are many examples. For example, here we're being medayek, teaching them how to be medayek and making a kimta, how to really make a careful reading of the Gemara to bring out its ideas themselves. So again, we don't give them the information ourselves. We give them a statement of the Gemara and have them pull out from that what the Gemara is, what the makshan's kasha is, what's the real question, what's the attack that he's making, how does the tartzon, how does he solve this kasha, how does he get out of the problem. We'll give them an example, an answer after they've produced their own, and then we give them. It's the first time that the mention of hefker comes up, and we have the students come up with their own definition based on this text. What does hefker mean? What is the process of hefker? We give them some scaffolding, some questions to point them in the right direction and to stimulate discussion, but ultimately they have their own definition now, and in every lesson they use that definition until we come to another sugya or a Rashi or something that contradicts that, and then maybe we'll have to change it. Very engaging, problem solving, inquiry based. Everything is done in this way where students are being engaged. No answers are given for free. There are no free passes. my definition of hefker is, and that's the situation. The benefit of all this is that it gets students involved in the creative process of learning Torah. What's so enjoyable about it is that they are then developing their own understanding of these sugyas and getting involved and arguing, and it gets them involved. So this is the way, some of the differences of a skill-based approach to Gemara learning, and this is the approach taken in this Gemara curriculum. At the moment, we're piloting this program in a couple of schools, and if you are interested in being part or finding out more about this curriculum, please be in touch. The contact details are on the screen, and thank you for tuning in.